All right, guys, this is the final part of our radical review. And so we're going to finish this packet. And that's what this video is over, is all the new things in here. So there's really two main new concepts that we have here. Okay, so the first one is when you see something like this. Okay, now, don't write this down because this isn't right, but our natural reaction is when we see the square root of 5, we say, oh, multiply by square root of 5 over square root of 5. Okay, but when I do that, I have to take this whole thing times the square root of 5, which gives me 3 square root of 5 minus square root of 5 times square root of 5 is just 5 on bottom. Okay, so all I've done is I've transferred my radical from my square root of 5 to now I have a 3 square root of 5. So we cannot do that. Okay, we need to work a little smarter. All right, now what we need to do is we need to find the conjugate. Okay, so if you have a plus b, the conjugate's going to be a minus b. Okay, if you have a minus b, the conjugate's going to be a plus b. It's basically the same thing, except you flip the sign between them. Okay, so here we have 3 minus square root of 5. So I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, which is 3 plus square root of 5. And of course, if I do it on bottom, I have to do it on top as well. Okay, now you can do this one of two ways. You can do 3 minus square root of 5 times 3 plus square root of 5. And then you can FOIL it. And guys, I usually like FOIL. I don't here, but I'm going to do it and show you, and then I'll show you a different way you can do it. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times a square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 5. Okay, and then minus square root of 5 times 3, so minus 3 square root of 5. And then minus square root of 5 times positive square root of 5, which is minus square root of 5 squared. Okay, so if we go a step further and reduce this, we have 9 plus 3 square root of 5 minus 3 square root of 5, those cancel. Minus square root of 5 squared, the square goes away, the square root goes away, this is just minus 5, which equals 4. Okay, you get a whole number. That's the magical thing of a conjugate. You'll come back and use this a lot in algebra too. Okay, so that's one way you can multiply them. Okay, I'm going to show you another way. Okay, so I'm going to use the box method of multiplication. So think of when you learned about area models. Okay, so this is 3 minus square root of 5 times 3 plus square root of 5. Okay, and I'm going to separate this into fours. Now I'm going to do like area models. So if I look at this box here, notice it's a 3 by 3. So the area of this would be 9. If I look at this box here, the sidebar's 3, this top is negative square root of 5, so if I multiply them together, I get negative 3 square root of 5. Bottom part is 3 and square root of 5, and this is a plus. So positive 3 square root of 5, and negative square root of 5 times a positive square root of 5 is going to be a negative square root of 5 squared. Square root of 5 squared is just 5, so negative 5. Okay, so I can take this, and it's the same thing as what here. I would add all these together. Well, this minus 3 square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 5 goes away, and then I'm left with 9 minus 5, which is 4. Same thing, okay? I will do it this way. If you're more comfortable with this way, that's fine. All right, so the bottom is 4, and then the top is 2 times 3 plus square root of 5. Okay, well, we can simplify this a little more. Notice we have this 2 over 4, which reduces to 1 over 2. Well, 1 times this, we can just drop our 1. So we can just say 3 plus square root of 5 over 2. This would be your final answer. All right, let's look at problem 127 now. Okay, so same thing. I want to find the conjugate of the denominator. So when I find the conjugate of the denominator, all I'm going to do is replace this minus sign with a plus. So it's going to be square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 2. But if I do it on bottom, I have to do it on top. Square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 2. Okay. Now, I'm going to, the top then's easy, 3 times square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 2 over, now the bottom, I'm going to have to multiply these together, and when I do that, I have to put them in parentheses. So square root of 5 minus 3 square root of 2 times square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 2. Okay, once again, I prefer the box method, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so it'd be square root of 5 minus 3 square root of 2, and then square root of 5 plus 3 square root of 2, and then I make my smaller boxes. All right, here in this top left, I have square root of 5 times square root of 5, which is square root of 5 squared. Square root and squared cancel out, so this is just 5. Okay, here I have negative 3 square root of 2 times square root of 5, so we just multiply what's on the insides together, so negative 3 square root of 10. Here, 3 stays on the outside, this is a plus, positive. Square root of 2 times square root of 5 is square root of 10. And I'll write this out over here. 3 square root of 2 times a negative 3 square root of 2. Okay, remember, we would multiply the outside, what's on the outside together, so 3 times negative 3 would be a negative 9 times square root of 2 squared. Well, the squared and the square root cancel each other out, so this is just negative 9 times 2, which is 18, or negative 18. Well, notice, now we'd add all these together, so we have minus 3 square root of 10 plus 3 square root of 10. Those take each other out, and we're left with 5 minus 18, which is just negative 13. Okay, so you could leave your answer like this, or if you wanted to go a step further and distribute this 3 through, it'd be 3 square root of 5 plus 9 square root of 2 over negative 13. All right, let's look at number 29 now. Now, I want you to try and attempt to do this one on your own, and then we'll go over it. All right, so this is what you should have gotten. Now, you're going to multiply by the conjugate, which is 4 plus 4 square root of 2. And when you multiply the denominators, you should get 16 minus 32, which is negative 16. Okay, in the top, I did distribute this through, and you need to, because if you get here, notice that you can factor a 4 out of here, and you could also factor a 4 out of here. Okay, so all I did is I factored a 4 out, so I got 4 times 5 plus 5 square root of 2 over negative 16, and then the 4 over negative 16 goes to 1 and negative 4, so we get our final simplified answer to here. All right, go ahead and try to do number 133 on your own, and then we'll go over it as well. All right, so when you do 133, this one's pretty simple, except this negative did kind of throw me off at first. You have to pick whether this negative is go to the top or the bottom, and I put the top, otherwise you'd have to distribute it through this bottom here. So I made this negative 6 over here, which is fine. But you multiply by the conjugate, 3 minus 4 square root of 2 on both top and bottom, so you get this over here. And when you distribute this negative 6 through, you get negative 18 plus 24 square root of 2 divided by negative 23, and that will be your final answer. All right, guys, this is kind of the last variation of radicals we're going to look at, and these aren't bad at all. So what you need to know is that something like this, so the square root of 3 over 16 is the same thing as square root of 3 over the square root of 16. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to change these to be like a separate numerator and denominator rather than all being under the same radical. So I'm going to say square root of 3 over square root of 16 times square root of 9 over the square root of 5. Okay, well now notice square root of 16 is 4 and the square root of 9 is 3. So that immediately makes our lives a little easier. So I'm left with 3 square root of 3 on top and 4 square root of 5 on bottom. Okay, now I have to get rid of this radical on bottom. So I'm going to multiply square root of 5 over square root of 5. And I'm left with 3 times square root of 3 times square root of 5 over 4 times square root of 5 times square root of 5, which is square root of 5 squared. Okay, so on the top, 3 times square root of 3 times square root of 5 is just square root of 15 over 4 times square root of 5 squared. Well, square root of 5 squared, guys, the squared and the square root cancels out. So this is just 4 times 5, which is 20. Square root of 15 does not simplify. Here is my answer. All right, I want you to try to do 143 on your own, and then we'll go over it. All right, square root of 11 over 11 should have been your final answer. Now, all I did is I broke it up. I noticed, guys, square root of 7 over here and square root of 7 here can cancel. And then the square root of 1 is just 1, so you get 1 over square root of 11. Then you rationalize the denominator, so multiply square root of 11 over square root of 11. You'll get square root of 11 over 11, and that is your final answer.